Welcome to Power 10 Sports Talk. I'm your host, as always, Andrew Gibb. Joining me this week, the kid that does not know what Dunkaroos are, Brady Gibb, and our special guest, who's a three-sport athlete at Dover, who then moved on to play outside linebacker at Malone University. Sadly, career was cut short after a broken sternum. He's been coaching now for 22 years.
Yeah, that's correct.
Doing everything from youth football, middle school football, high school football at Dover, youth baseball, middle school basketball at Dover, pretty much any coaching under the sun, I think. All around great guy, sideline reporter for Big Time Sports, Travis McClelland.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Glad to be here. And you listen to all that coaching and you think back 22 years, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, that's something. I haven't gotten to do it as long. I got to do DSA coaching whenever I was a high schooler, and nothing makes you happier than getting to see the smiles on the kids' faces some days and the free snacks. Never forget
Yeah,
about the free snacks.
there's a lot of benefits and a lot of things you get. When I first started coaching here at Dover, after I broke my sternum, I come back and talked to Coach Jeff, who I played for, and said, "Hey, Coach, you need any help?" And he put me on the freshman coaching roster, and it was nice to get paid right away for coaching. So I've coached for money, I've coached volunteer. There's benefits to both, and I just really enjoy working with kids and young adults and just passing on what I've learned through sports to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to have a former player here to critique you and make fun of you for
That,
probably next hour.
that's right. It's all open there, Brady Gibb.
All right, well, let's dive right into the news. We'll start off with what we saw at the beginning of the week. J.J. Watt going to Arizona. I know that there were some people in this household that weren't too happy about it. And I told them he wasn't going to come to Cleveland. We don't need him. Brady, any thoughts?
Oh, okay. Screw JJ Watt. Don't like him. Take Marshawn Lattimore.
You can't say screw J.J. Watt. That man is he's a good person. He might be
Yeah,
upset, but you can't say he's a bad person.
I believe he won Walter Payton Man of the Year, didn't he?
Yeah, he won that, and that he still does volunteer stuff for Houston while he's in Arizona.
Said he wants to go to a championship team. Then he goes to a team that didn't even make the playoffs.
Talking about the playoffs.
I think that's a fair point by Brady. He went to a team that was 8-8 last year, didn't make the playoffs, and possibly the toughest division in football.
Yeah, absolutely. It is an odd decision. I think them and the AFC North are probably the two hardest ones to compete in right now. And to not pick the Steelers where your brother's at, the Browns that really wanted him, and I think the city was really embracing him already, or even the Packers where you played college at, to pick Arizona over everything else was a unique decision. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. I think that team has potential to be really good, but we don't know.
I agree. They have the potential to be good. They have a quarterback out there in Kyler Murray. They got one of the best receivers in football in D Hop. We'll see what they do with the rest of the offseason, but you're looking up the barrel at, Seattle out there. I know there's some stuff around Russell Wilson, but you're also looking up the barrel at the Rams, two teams that were in the playoffs. One was 12-4 and one was 10-6. And you're also in there with San Francisco, who had it off year at 6-10, but you're sitting at 8-8. It maybe not about a Super Bowl for JJ Watt. Maybe it was about the money. He got some good money for going there 2 years.
Yeah, but they did say that he was getting more money from the Colts and the Browns.
Yeah, I
to
heard
go
that
there.
also. Yeah, I heard that also. So maybe, who knows? It was an odd decision. I didn't ever think he was going to go to the Browns. I thought analytics would hold them back from getting him. And I don't think he wanted to play his brothers twice a year. I was pushing Green Bay hard. I thought he was going to be a Packer.
Yeah, that's when I was kind of like, it'll be Green Bay. He's from Wisconsin, and it's a team that would like him. There's a great culture there, and you definitely have a chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, anytime A-Rod's under center, you got a chance for a Super Bowl up there.
All right.
As long as you're not
Next.
kicking field
Oh,
goals.
sorry, Brady.
And I said, as long as you're not kicking field goals.
Yeah. All right. Next bit of news: Alex Smith gets released by the Washington football team to save $14.6 million in cap space. It hurt. It hurt me to see it because Alex Smith gets comeback player of the year, and he managed to overcome something that I think 99.999% of athletes will never get to do, which is win a game after a career-ending injury. But he's a free agent. I think that he could start with some cities that might be in a QB situation. I think he'll get picked up. I'm kind of hoping that the Colts pick him up. I want to see him win a ring now, and I think they have the potential. And Carson Wentz will get hurt at some point, so might as well have a good backup set up. But I think Alex Smith will definitely succeed somewhere. I'm sad to see him leave a team that got him Coach of the Year or Comeback Player of the Year, and got to let him get a win after he almost loses a leg.
I'm sure he got the "it's just business" statement from the Redskins, but that's got to hurt deep. He basically put his life was on the line through all those surgeries. Comes back, quarterbacks you to some wins, gets comeback player of the year, and I get the business side of it, but the human side of you is like, man, that hurts deep. That's kind of a jerk move there by the Washington football team.
Yeah, it does seem like a situation maybe they could have renegotiated a contract instead of just cutting him.
Right, right. So you think he'll go to Indy and mentor Carson Wentz, who meeting up with his old offensive coordinator there. So, he was in the MVP race back then before he got hurt.
I think that would possibly give me a potential to support Carson Wentz if Alex Smith is also there, because you have two guys that are a little injury prone, but you're behind one of the better lines in the NFL, if not the best. You're talking about a guy that's been through it and kind of could mentor Wentz and, hey, here's the mistakes you're making. Here's how we can fix it. You're with a guy that was your OC that you're essentially making a system to make Wentz succeed. I think that, they're probably a left tackle away from being all set at most positions, a left tackle and maybe another wide receiver, and they're being set at almost every position.
Yeah, they're young. They're young defensively. Quentin Nelson is one of my two favorite guards in the NFL. I mean, that dude, you see him running downfield, picking teammates up, just an animal. And they got a culture there that they're winning football games. So that may be a destination, but there's about 4 or 5 other teams that are quarterback thirsty right now where he could land and either possibly compete for a starting job or at least mentor a young person there that they pick up in the draft.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see. But again, it's one of those ones where I think everyone wants to see Alex Smith succeed. Maybe not that one guy that voted for Ben Roethlisberger for Comeback Player of the Year. He might be the only one not rooting for Alex Smith.
Ben is Ben, and I think he deserved the conversation. Coming back off that arm injury and playing, but this is, like you said, only like half of 1% of athletes make the NFL, and only half of 1% come back from this type of injury. So the odds against Alex Smith were so stacked, and not just the injury, then he caught staph and had multiple surgeries and thought they were going to lose the leg, and that coming together, that's by far the comeback player of the year, and somebody just has no heart, whoever picked Ben Roethlisberger for that.
Yeah, most of them are statistic based. I think Comeback Player of the Year is definitely one that it's story and emotion based. You got to kind of go, who was the biggest story? Who was one that kind of you're rooting for him. I think if we ever see Ryan Shazier put the pads on again, I really doubt it. But if he put the pads back on and he played one down, I'd bet he gets it. I would, if it was a one down and he didn't even touch or get near the ball, I'd bet he wasn't supposed to walk again.
Right.
And he managed to suit up and play a down again.
Yeah, I hope for his health, not. And that goes to show you how quickly things can happen. And I live that in my life, not in the NFL, obviously, but how one play can change the course of your direction. And for him to break his neck and come back and even be on the field as a coach or a mentor, I think he's in the comeback player of the year just for that. I know he didn't play, but I 100% agree with you. But, one little tackle, with his head down and his whole life changed.
Yeah. All right. Next bit of news. The All-Star teams were picked Thursday night, and we got Team LeBron getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Chris Paul, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Domantas Sabonis, and Rudy Gobert. That's a really stacked team. I personally think Team LeBron's going to win before I can even announce who Team Kevin Durant got. That's enough for me to say they won.
What?
But Kevin Durant ends up taking Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, and Jason Tatum because he can't play, so he got to do a double pick. James Harden, Mike Conley, who's going to step in for Devin Booker, who got hurt, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Nikola Vucevic, and Donovan Mitchell. And it has got to be interesting for Mike Conley, 14 years in, and you finally make an All-Star game off an injury.
Yeah, and there's some people outside looking in, that thought maybe they should have been on that roster. But in my opinion, LeBron with the experience in this type of format and Kevin Durant apparently not being able to play, I think Team LeBron runs away with this just with his first 3 picks. You got Giannis, you got Steph Curry, and you got Luka. With LeBron, ball game.
Yeah, the first 3, LeBron, Giannis, and Curry combined for 8 MVPs. And that's definitely speaking volumes to how good this team is. And then you add in guys that, Luka, Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown are probably your younger players that are doing this. Chris Paul having a great year after a lot of years of kind of underperforming. And Jokic, who is an amazing center who's up for the MVP race. And I think he makes a very good case for it.
Yeah, Jokic leads his team in like points, rebounds, assists, block shots, and probably helping out the elderly. He's doing it all out there out west.
Yeah, and he's shooting 57% from field goal, and I'm like, that's crazy for a center.
Yeah, he's something. He's a talent, and he does it all for him out there. He's a typical stat stuffer.
Yeah. The big story from the All-Star picks, though, was Gobert and Donovan Mitchell being taken as the last 2 picks.
Yeah.
And people were kind of saying, oh, yeah, there's some drama behind it. And I was like, I don't see it. In my opinion, I kind of saw Gobert as kind of the worst center that made it. And it's not a dig at Gobert. He's still great, but I would rather have Jokic or Embiid before I would want Gobert. So I was like, yeah, he's kind of my last pick in it. And Donovan Mitchell, who is a great small forward. Again, it's just one of those situations where I think he kind of falls to the bottom of the pack of those at that position. So I kind of went, logically it made sense to me. Utah is a very good team and they have a lot of potential, but obviously they have 3 guys in the All-Star game. So
yeah, and something we didn't mention too is Anthony Davis not going to probably play here. And that's gonna hurt the deep pool. But like you said, if you have 3 guys in the All-Star game, you should probably be leading the NBA in wins. If you got 3 of your 5 starters that are playing in the All-Star game for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and it is one I think everyone. Do you see him in the power rankings at number 1? You see the record, and a lot of people do doubt that they are the number 1 team, and I know I am one of them, and I think that is. LeBron James still exists. That it comes to LeBron James is still in the West. It's tough for you to be the best team. I know Brady will say it's the Clippers because, he managed to pick the worst team in LA.
No, they're not the worst team in LA.
They don't have LeBron James. They're the worst team in LA.
Okay, whatever you say.
Well, it's those both teams. I think anybody else in the NBA might be happy they're out there in the West together, especially if you're the East, if you're a team like the Nets or the Heat or somebody like
or
that.
the Knicks.
The Knicks. Well, the Knicks, yeah. The Knicks have the same trouble that the Indians have. Their owner has the last name Dolan.
Yeah. It is odd, though, to see the Knicks at a 4 seed. And,
Yeah.
the one more big thing from the All-Star game, we do get to see the skills challenge in the 3-point contest pre-game and the dunk contest at half. The dunk contest consisting of 3 guys I've never heard of. With I think Obi Toppin being the biggest name, and I only knew him because I kind of wanted him to go to the Cavs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other 2 guys, I believe one hasn't even played in an NBA game yet.
I saw Obi play in college, and I want him to come to Cleveland as well. But he has some impressive dunks. And the dunk contest. Here's the thing about the dunk contest: they're not going to come up with a dunk that not been done before. So they get creative, and you saw guys jump over cars, and you saw guys do different things like that. They got to get really creative with that. And like I said, you're going to have somebody that you never heard of, because the guys like LeBron and the guys that you think of as dunker, going all the way back to when I was a kid, like Jordan and Dominique Wilkins, and you see that. But Zion Williams and those guys, everything's been done. So there's only a chance for them to fail. You know what I mean? There's nothing, you expect something out of them. You know, if you're going to see LeBron, everyone wanted that for years. But I wanted Alex Caruso to bring the dunk contest. Bring a bald white guy in there. Give me some hope.
Yeah, represent you represent you.
Yes, representing me. You know, listen. You know, Alex Caruso takes a lot of heat, but that guy can play too.
He is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Obi Toppin, Alfred Simmons, and Cassius Stanley.
Yeah.
If you can guess where those other two players are at, I will give you $5 for each one.
Yeah. Oh, well, one's in Portland, I know. The other one I don't know.
The other one is with the Pacers. He's yet to play a game.
Ah, well, that's probably why I don't know.
Stanley. He has yet to
Yeah.
play a game with the Pacers yet, and he's in the dunk contest.
How is that even possible?
I don't know how, and it's an odd situation. Yeah, and it's Aaron Gordon is definitely gonna. You could just shoot him a text, and I bet he'd be there.
Yeah.
He got robbed of a dunk contest last year. I think he'd love to come
Twice.
back and win one. Yeah, 2 dunk contests that he hasn't gotten to win.
Well-
It is gonna be cool to see Spud Webb and who's another one? I believe Dominique Wilkins. They're both referees this year for it.
Both former Atlanta Hawks, both former dunk winners. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that maybe because the All-Star game is in Atlanta, but
Right.
yeah, Spud Webb being 5'7" and winning a dunk contest
Yeah.
is something I'm like, I'm 6'1" and I don't think I could win a dunk contest.
Yeah. I've never been able to dunk, so I definitely couldn't win one unless you lowered it to 9 feet.
Yeah, so maybe lower it to 8 and I could compete.
Yeah. You know, like I said, those guys blazed the trail. You got Jordan, you got Dominique, you got Dawkins, was a dunker back in the day. You watch D Brown, cover his eyes, and
Vince Carter with the elbow through the hoop.
Vince Carter, probably one of the best dunkers of all time.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's just become I think the 3-point contest and the skills challenge has become more fun to watch than the dunk contest because you can only do so much. I mean, Blake Griffin jumps over a Kia and you're like, that's cool. And everyone always says it's over the hood. And I'm like, I don't think I could jump over the hood and, in general, let alone also dunk a basketball while I'm doing it.
Right. The 3-point contest is who? Like Curry, Tatum, Booker.
Booker is not going to do it. I believe they have Conley taking his spot.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Levine. I think Levine.
Yeah, Levine's making it. And Luka, I believe, is number 6.
Okay.
But yeah, the 3-point contest, I think it is just with how the game has changed, has affected the 3-point. It's 3-pointers becoming bigger, and you're seeing college trying to prevent that. But yeah, the 3-point has become so big that it's like, well, I want to see that and see who's the best 3-point shooter in the NBA. The dunk contest, I know most guys in the NBA can dunk. Mm-hmm. At this point, I know everyone can dunk. I can watch Zion Williamson high at some high school and know he can dunk.
Yeah, he's nasty.
It is. College, he was good, but whenever you watch him in high school where he's still the same size he is in the NBA going up against guys like me, it's like, man, you got to feel bad for them. What were they supposed to do?
Did you ever see that YouTube video of they checked in like a little 5'6" guard to guard Zion in a high school game? That's hilarious. I love that.
Oh my gosh. So our next bit of news, Steelers officially re-signed Big Ben. That had to come up with a bunch of Browns fans. As a Browns fan, you kind of got to be like, yes, they're going to keep him for another year. And after what last year looked like, you kind of got to be like, why? My big question, objectively, as a Colts fan, I don't know why you would keep him. And I know Steelers fans would be upset or give a reason why because of loyalty. You're keeping him on as a starter. And that's the issue. Larry Fitzgerald plays a fair amount of snaps, but they know he's old and he's not going to be the same Larry Fitzgerald he was 10 years ago. But they're keeping on to Big Ben like he's still prime Big Ben that can win you all of your games and get you to the Super Bowl. We saw he fell apart in the fourth quarter of most games.
Yeah, and you talked about Larry Fitzgerald. What Larry Fitzgerald doing is not he's a contributor. The quarterback, it's a quarterback-driven league. That's the engine to your offense. No longer do we see him turning around, handing off 25 times, 30 times a game. So Larry Fitzgerald can play a little bit past. When your quarterback's getting past its prime, it's getting difficult. But he did sign a little team-friendly type deal there. But you know, is he the real Ben that we saw there, or is the one that was like he led the league in passing 2 years ago, and was it offensive line troubles? You know, that's sort of a question we got to answer as football fans.
Yeah. And I'm 100% sure any person that's a Browns fan is kind of going, "Oh, sweet, we got Big Ben back." That means 2 games where we have to play a guy that's definitely kind of reaching that back half of his career that had issues throwing, that is throwing 50, 60 passes a game because they don't have a run game, and you're just tearing them out.
And he doesn't have the arm strength that he had before, and so all their passes were short. And I know they fired their offensive coordinator, and they just haven't been able to develop the run game in the last couple of years. But you know, at the same time, who else are they going to have right now? You know, they found out that Mason Rudolph and Duck isn't the answer. So
Yeah.
to sign him to a team friendly deal is probably smart for the Steelers from a PR standpoint, from a leader standpoint, and then maybe move on and try to get somebody. But going into the offseason, what was your options at quarterback otherwise?
Yeah, I know they did sign Dwayne Haskins,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
that's all right. I wouldn't say that's a horrible pickup because he still was pretty good in some games in Washington, and he was really good at Ohio State.
Mhm.
But you kind of got to wonder about the discipline issues with going to strip clubs without masks in the middle of a pandemic. Can you keep this guy locked down and focused on the goal, or is it kind of the inmates are running the prison in Pittsburgh now with the stuff that Claypool and Juju do on TikTok, doing the stuff on the logos, and then having Von Bell rock ya and get a. Would it be a pick six, or was it technically a fumble? Because
Yeah,
I thought it was like he knocked it out and like caught it out of the air. So I'm like, is it an interception still, or
yeah, that would be an interception still. But yeah, you know, Haskins, for them to pick him up, it's all upside for him, because if it doesn't work out, you're going to cut him. You know,
yeah,
he was a top 15, 16 pick, and you know, he can spin it. He threw 50 touchdowns at Ohio State, and I know that's not the NFL. And like you alluded to, Andrew, he had some nice glimmers there in Washington, but didn't work out for him there. And a fresh start, and maybe to learn a year under Ben, regardless of Ben, if he's going to throw for 4 or 5,000 yards or 3,000, he can at least tutor Dwayne Haskins, and they'll get a year chance to see if he's the franchise.
yeah. Next bit of news, coming back up to Cleveland, Baker Mayfield's caught seeing UFOs.
I thought he was a good quarterback. Now I just think he's crazy.
Oh, I think he's an even better quarterback. Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, Baker Mayfield seeing UFOs. Soon we're gonna find out Mahomes is seeing Bigfoot or something.
It was you know, it's a slow news time, and so when you hear about UFOs, and I knew Colin Coward was going to jump on that, and I knew it was going to be great media. You know, and Coward's hilarious, whether you like him or not. He doesn't like Baker. I love the feud. I like the fire. You know, Cleveland's got a decision coming up with Baker with his option year.
Yeah. And it was interesting that people kind of made fun of it before it came out with Colin Coward. Oh, Coward will say something and be like, "Oh, I don't want my starting QB seeing UFOs." Coward says that exact thing. It's like, "Oh, Tom Brady doesn't see it." Tom Brady goes on Twitter and says, "You don't know I haven't seen UFOs." And I'm like, Tom Brady's got Baker Mayfield's back, which kind of makes you feel good as a Browns fan or as a Browns supporter. Kind of, all right, Tom Brady's got this guy's back, so he definitely sees potential in him. Because if it was some guy that I think Brady didn't see any potential in, or kind of, oh, it's just some guy, I don't think he'd go to defend him. But seeing that Tom Brady's kind of coming to your defense, got to feel good if you're Baker Mayfield that the greatest quarterback is kind of coming to your defense here.
Yeah,
No, Patrick Mahomes will start seeing Tom Brady in his footsteps.
yeah, you know, and what I liked about that tweet from Tom Brady is it just didn't say how do you know I haven't seen UFOs. It said how do you know I haven't seen UFOs, Colin, like directed right at him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's great that he come out and took a shot at Colin and had Baker's back, and you know, because maybe he's sick of Colin's antics as well.
Yeah, possibly. And it could be that he's sick of that, or he's kind of going, please stop putting me on a pedestal, man. Like, it's making me look bad because you say that I am the greatest every single week. So
Right.
I can't have a average game.
Yeah.
Also, with the Browns, Wyatt Teller seen picking up an alligator while he's on vacation in Louisiana. I'm going to guess Louisiana because there's a dead alligator in the video, but just kind of firemen carrying an alligator. I know they run around 500-600 pounds. So that's an impressive feat for a to see your offensive lineman doing, but definitely unique offseason we're seeing so far from Cleveland.
Yeah. That's a man's man right there. If you can fireman carry an alligator and walk like you're just strolling down the street, that's a man's man right there. And that's who I want blocking for my quarterback.
All right. Well, how about we'll try and find somebody to sponsor Power 10. We'll go on a trip down to Louisiana. We'll bring you down as our guest and see if we can have you pick up an alligator for us.
I'm down, but it can't be a 500 or 600 pounder. Those days are long over, buddy.
It's got to be a little baby one. Got to be like a 5-10 pounder.
Right. The older I get, the better I was.
Hey, Brady, what size alligator do you think you're getting?
I think I could carry 100.
100? That ain't,
If I
that
can
ain't too
bench
far
100,
off.
I can carry 100.
Oh, I mean, fireman carrying, it's kind of, you're using your whole
Pretty much
body.
all
So
your
it's one that I think I could give myself 160 to 180. I think of my own body weight I could carry. I don't know how big that alligator would be, but
You know, it's the hard thing about a fireman carry doing it through exercising is getting them up. Once you got them up, you can roll them. So if somebody could lift it up on your shoulders, I think you two could exponentially up the weight. But if you had to pick them up dead off the ground and get them on your shoulders, that's the difficult part. So that's what would limit you. Once you got them on your shoulders, you could really put a lot more up. My limit would be my knees. They would start screaming like, "No, dude, we're done."
yeah, my knees and my hip would definitely be like, nah, we're not doing this. Set it
Yeah.
back down.
I'm opting out. That's what they would say.
All right. Next bit of news: Les Miles set on administrative leave by Kansas after news comes out about him doing some not so great things at LSU. I think it is the right move by Kansas to kind of just put him on leave right now, not firing him quite yet because it was whenever he was at LSU when all this is coming out. So you kind of want to make sure that everything's right before you might fire him or kind of bring him back. But finding out, this guy may have been coercing college girls to come to his condo and do certain things with him is not a great thing to hear. It's a lot of college coaches are having these controversies in the past 10, 15 years. And it is odd. Is it a college culture that they've developed that, oh, yeah, it's more okay to do it here than it is as an NFL coach?
I just think they can get away with it easier because you're dealing with kids that are not kids, young adults that are 18, 19, 20, as opposed to adults that are mid 20s to higher to late 30s in the NFL and those stuff. And they're a professional at that point. And, I think KU's doing the right thing, do their due diligence, put them on administrative leave till they get information, because it did happen to LSU. And, you got to take those things very seriously or you're going to be in the jackpot for it. So, I think KU's taking the right approach there with Les Miles. And, we saw something come out about Mickey Callaway in the same light. So, it's sometimes takes a little bit for that information to come to the forefront. But, you really got to be careful within your organization because we're in the age of information. It's not the 1980s anymore. Look what happened at Penn State. That was hidden for a long, long time, but eventually came to surface. So, if you have that and you're a leader of any type of organization, you better get your thumb on it or it's going to come back to haunt you in the end.
Yeah. Another one that came out was Creighton's head coach being put on administrative leave. I don't know if he's been officially fired yet, but he made some comments about players and they were kind of like, that's not cool. People are going to find out. You're going to be put on suspension for right now. We're not cool with this, and we're going to make it known that we're not okay with you saying these things to players. And it's some people might say it's cancel culture. Some people it's kind of you're being held more accountable now. You can't kind of get away with saying stuff behind closed doors that are, inappropriate or maybe disparaging towards players or other people associated. You're kind of now being held accountable for all the things you do, and you are now a public figure, so you need to know how to act accordingly.
Yeah, I agree with that, Andrew. And you just can't act like maybe you could get away with it in the 70s. And, as an Ohio State fan, you always think how Woody Hayes coached. You can't coach high school football teams now how he did. You go to jail, and that's just the reality of our culture. and you could say it's the cancel culture, or we're evolving down the road. Or I know there's people out there that that went through that oh, they're just being weak and they're soft, and so there's going to be all kinds of hot takes on that. But the reality is you are more accountable because somebody's always listening or watching.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, whether you agree with it or not. We now know exactly what they said.
Hmm.
And it's not kind of he said, she said. It's I have a recording of him saying it, or I have 6 different eyewitnesses that all are assistant coaches that heard him say it. It's not cool. We don't want to be okay with it. And as a university, you kind of they have to be very conscious of how they portray themselves to the public. If all of a sudden Creighton is cool with a coach saying horrible things about his players, you've lost all recruitment. And that brings in money for the university. And if the university doesn't bring in money, then they're in trouble.
You have to protect your brand, and if you're branded with that in the court of public opinion, whether it was true or not, you're still stuck with that stigma. I mean, we're all from a small town. Somebody could say something about us and it gets around pretty quickly, true or not, and you're stamped with that until you can fight it off. And it's just a bigger scale for these guys. If they're willing to put up with that, they're going to have to face the ripple effect from that. And so they really have to protect their brand, because they want the athletes to come there like you did. Football, basketball, those guys make money for the universities, and you got to protect your brand, and not and also students want to come there. And so you got to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get the representation that no one wants to be around.
Yeah. Another issue that came up this week: Arizona men's basketball facing 5 level 1 rule violations. I had to kind of look up what this meant. It's anything from bribing players. So this is all stuff that they officially or allegedly had done that they're under investigation for. Bribing players to come to the school, faking transcripts for players for high school to college, faking class or having tutors essentially take classes for the athletes. Arranging meetings with agents, which as college athletes you're not allowed to do. Recruiting violations, they pretty much hit all the big notes for don't do this as a college coach. And it's not just their coach, it's coaches, assistants, people associated with Arizona basketball, who I know I got to go on to analyze this and talk about the Blue Bloods. But Arizona has been historically a pretty good basketball school for years.
Mm-hmm.
And all the stuff coming out in the past 5 years it's almost destroyed their reputation to the point where you never bounce back. If you do enough stuff like this, you never get to bounce back. You become a perpetual loser because they found out, okay, well, let's say this all finds out to be true. Well, no basketball for 2 years, no recruitment for 5 years. Everybody associated with it gets fired. Nobody wants to be a coach there anymore because they can't recruit. And you've now created a tradition of losing that will never get broken, or it's incredibly difficult to break.
Yeah, this is really going to hamstring their program if they get found guilty on these counts, and not just for what we talked about, but like you said about no recruiting for 5 years and no scholarships and things of that nature. That's going to put you so far behind. Not only you're not Duke and you're not Kentucky anymore. You've been solid over the years, but you're going to have to overcome those hurdles of people not coming there, no scholarships. You're not going to be on the forefront of their mind and on the tip of their tongue. And, all this happened in an 18-month period. So it hasn't been Arizona's full history, but an 18-month period, a bad decision by Sean Miller and his coaching staff is going to put this program behind by decades.
Yeah. So, yeah, 18 months would put it about September of 2019. Am I doing the math right on that?
Yeah,
So you're
ballpark.
talking 2.5 seasons where they were doing, or 2 seasons where they're doing stuff like this, and nobody knew. And eventually somebody kind of stepped forward and was like, I'm not cool with all this stuff, or they just got caught. And I think we've seen similar situations with Penn State football.
Mhm.
Um, there's been other schools that have gotten in trouble. I know UNC got in trouble for a while for having fake classes for players.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in college, these are almost death sentences, especially whenever you're talking level 1 rule violations. Whenever you're bribing players and faking transcripts, that means kids weren't supposed to be there. And that is something that the school might be told by the NCAA, you don't get to even have a team for 2 years. And again, these are all guessing. I don't know how long. They'll obviously reach a verdict on their own. And it could be 3 years where they can't recruit or have scholarships. But that's enough to kill a program. And we've seen it. Penn State has still yet to bounce back truly from their incident. UNC, yeah, they've kind of been able to, but there's still always the stigmas there that, man, you messed up and you got caught. Obviously, we always hear the stories. Oh, 5-star linebacker recruit goes to LSU and he gets a hoodie. Hoodie happens to be filled up with money in the pockets.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Tennessee gets caught because they put it in McDonald's bags, but
Yeah, and it's probably been going on throughout time.
yeah,
It's
they
I
just finally
suppose
got
they get
caught.
Yeah, exactly. And it just, you're going to get caught eventually. We talked about that in the Les Miles segment there. No longer can you, if you ever seen the movie Blue Streaks, Shaquille O'Neal's in there, Penny Hardaway, that
Yeah.
kind of outlines those type of violations. And even though it's a hypothetical school there, it kind of revealed what everyone always thought, giving people jobs or houses or tractors in that case in the movie, $100 handshakes at a time, or like you said, hoodies filled with money. No longer in the age of media and everything's at our fingertips at like this. Can you get away with anything like that?
Yeah. And even some things it could be a player's fault. Like, I know if I got all of a sudden was being asked to go to Ohio State and they're like, oh yeah, here's a couple like jackets and all that. And I open up the pockets and I found like a couple $1,000s. I'd definitely be posting it on Snapchat to my friends. Like, oh yeah, look what Ohio State gave me.
Yeah.
Ignore the money, but like just focus on these cool jackets.
Right. Right. Right.
And it could be somebody that I'm friends with that I thought I might be closer with could be the person. And that
Mhm.
could be what happens with some of these schools is people are putting trust in the wrong people, or maybe they are misinterpreting things.
Yeah. Or what, where you come from and your surroundings and your financial situation as a family, and all of a sudden you're rolling in a Rolls Royce, that might throw up some red flags.
Yeah. Next bit of news, Blake Griffin agrees to a buyout from the Pistons. He's now a free agent. Uh, I think that he'll go to a team and be a bench player. I think the Pistons, I don't know if they made the right move getting rid of him. I really haven't, the Pistons aren't exactly a team worth watching right now. I can't say much because I'm a Cavs fan, but I don't know. It's odd to see a guy with such a big name like Blake Griffin to be at this point, to see that the two big guys that were with Detroit coming into the season, Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin, are both gone now. Is it full rebuild at this point, or is it just kind of hope for the best for the next few years?
I think the Troy Weaver, their GM, is coming in and wiping the slate clean. I think they owed Blake something like 36 and 39 million or something in that range. And Weaver's just coming in, and it's a complete rebuild. And one thing that surprised me, and maybe I'll shoot this to you too, is how quickly has Blake Griffin fallen from the upper echelon of NBA players. I believe he's only 31, but he's
I'll have
31,
to check
32.
real quick. I'm not sure
Um,
how old he
He's
is.
the
Yeah.
Clippers. Yeah, he's just terrible.
Yeah, when he was with the Clippers with, Lob City out there, things were going real well. He came to Detroit and had a couple good years. I think he was only a 6 or 7 time All-Star in his seasons, but
I drafted 2009 number one overall. So this is now his 12th season.
yeah.
6-time All-Star, 3-time NBA second team, Rookie of the Year, slam dunk champ. Um, Played 2009 to 2018 with the Clippers, and then 2018 to 20. So 3 seasons with the Pistons.
Mhm.
I think he had one good year there, and I think it was just a lot of the components around him were kind of falling apart. Getting a 30-year-old Derrick Rose probably wasn't great for him. Getting a Derrick Rose that's been beaten and kind of through the ringer was not a great two guy to have for him as a number two player. But I hope that he bounces back. He seems to be a really funny guy and a genuinely nice person. Where like it is one where like you do hear about some players kind of turn out to be dicks, but
Mhm.
it seems like he is a genuinely nice guy and a kind of good person to be around. So I kind of hope nothing but the best for him.
Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, he either stays in the East with the Heat or the Nets, or possibly goes out west somewhere with like the Trailblazers or somebody like that could use them. The Trailblazers brought Carmelo in, older in time, maybe maybe a change of scenery will rejuvenate him a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it's that second wing. Like Melo was seen to be done, comes to the Blazers and did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they still continue to do pretty well there. So maybe, yeah, he goes to the Blazers and gets that second wind.
Yeah, for sure.
And Brady, any thoughts you want him coming to the Clippers? Want him back with the Clippers?
He's too old. I don't think he's good enough.
Don't want him there with Lemon Pepper Lou and Playoff Pete and the robot.
Hey, yeah, they got Kawhi out there, so they're not done yet. Anytime he's on the floor, you
Yeah,
gotta let the
that's
Clippers
the one
chances.
saving grace they have.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
and last bit of news we got from today: Ravens propose a new overtime kind of format, and it would be the
I'm
spot
gonna
and
go off on
choose.
this.
What was that?
I'm going off on this.
All
So
right.
they're just trying to find ways that they can finally win a playoff game, just so they can make it to the Super Bowl.
All right. So the new rule, for those of you that don't know, the spot and choose, essentially they would have a coin toss to start overtime like usual, but instead of deciding on who gets the ball, the winner of the coin toss gets to decide where the ball is placed. So they can decide to place it on their 20, on the opponent's 20, on the 50-yard line. They could put it on their 1-yard line and whatever they choose. The other team gets to pick whether they will be starting with the ball and having to go 99 yards or 1 yard. So they get to be, all right, we're going to be on offense and we're going to just have to go 1 yard with it. It is an interesting concept that I think it'd be cool, but I don't know if it'll end up working out. I think they should just adapt the NCAA's rule and just kind of do an extra quarter. Just do that. It's the easiest way to do it, and it's the least amount of trouble.
Yeah, I think that, in fairness, I didn't really know this rule. I heard it from Andrew before we came on and I looked it up, and here's another wrinkle to that, Andrew, according to CBS Sports, is it's going to be a sudden death format. So that adds another wrinkle to it.
Yeah.
And so you can say you can put it at the 10-yard line, but they get to choose whether they're on offense. They're already in extra point field goal range.
Yeah.
So that adds a little wrinkle to it. To me, I think the overtime rule should be the same from NFL to high school. You're all playing the same game. I know at different talent levels, but I think the overtime rule should be the same throughout. And I enjoy the college and high school rule myself, but the Ravens are innovative and they're thinking of different ways to do overtime. And currently they just changed the rule, 3, 4, 5 years ago?
4 years ago, I think.
Yeah. And so they're always looking at options, and it would add some interesting strategy to the overtime game. But I just want a solid format from NFL to college to high school. Make it the same.
Yeah. XFL, if you're listening, I have a proposal for an overtime that I don't think the NFL would take, but it would be really interesting to do essentially a 7-on-7, 5-minute running clock. Whichever 7 you send out is the only people that can be on the field. So if you're the Browns, you could send Myles Garrett, Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, Denzel Ward, BJ Goodson, and Wyatt Teller. Those are the only 7 guys that could be on offense or defense for that entire 5 minutes. And whoever they play, same thing. You pick 7, and that's the only 7 they get to be on the field. And obviously, there's issues with these guys getting paid millions of dollars to be a quarterback. I don't want him playing a safety or anything like that. But it'd be interesting. It forces guys to it kind of makes a team have to be well rounded.
Yeah, I think that brings back the old two-way player and some things you see in high school. You get quarterbacks playing safety, and that would be an interesting wrinkle. I'd like to see somebody try out and just see how it goes, because we talked off air about Myles Garrett and his athleticism, making the 58 and 64-inch box jumps. I'm pretty sure he could play somewhere offensively for you. And who wouldn't? And then Tampa Bay, they'd be in a situation of saying, okay, Tom Brady's our quarterback. Do we want him in at safety?
Yeah.
So that
do we want him trying to make a tackle? Do we think
Right.
Tom Brady could handle being or is it just,
Right.
we're going to put him on the line and we know he's not going to do anything,
Yeah.
but it covers one of their guys.
Yeah, the Saints with Taysom Hill, do you think probably have the advantage of that because he can do everything? He's the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see. And yeah, like you said, like there are guys that in high school, or even Julian Edelman, who played QB and whenever he's in college and switched over,
Yeah.
you'd see wide receivers playing cornerback, maybe defensive lineman going in as a tailback. I
Mhm.
would love to see Myles Garrett at some point in his career run the ball, because I don't think anyone could stop him.
Well, think about what JJ Watt has done in his career. He's lined up at fullback. He's lined up at tight end, and I think Myles Garrett's that type of athlete. But let me ask you this, Andrew or Brady, you want to meet Myles Garrett in the hole on the goal line if you're a linebacker? Not
No,
me.
no.
I don't want any of that smoke.
No, that's one of those ones. I think if I'm a linebacker and Myles Garrett's holding the ball and running it in to try and score, I'd just kind of I'd pray to whichever God's listening.
I
Just
think I would.
please let me get back up after he hits me,
I think
because
I'd
I'm
grab
not
a
hitting
hammy.
him. He's hitting me.
Yeah. I think I would grab a hammy and fake a hammy injury. I don't
As
want
soon
that.
as soon as you see him in the backfield, ooh, cramping,
Yeah.
take me out, please.
Yeah. Give the old helmet tap.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got for the news today. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, give us a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, Travis, for coming on. Again, we always do the open call. If you're a high school or college athlete, high school, college coach, if you're an announcer, if you have some expertise about a sport and want to come on and kind of flex your muscles to all of us and teach us something that we probably don't know, because if you haven't learned, we're not well informed, but we are really enthusiastic about it. Shoot us a DM on Twitter at Power 10 Sports. Find one of us on Facebook. Also for our page at Power 10 Sports on Facebook. We appreciate everything. Whenever you guys check us out, whenever you share it, we always love it. We just get to do this for fun, and talking to you guys makes it even more fun. Shout out to Synergy Sign, who made us stickers. We will be doing giveaways for these in the coming weeks. Different things on Facebook and Twitter, so remember to stay tuned in for that. Travis, don't worry, we'll give you one for free for coming
Oh, hey,
on.
thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Synergy Signs, my buddy Jim Dawson up there.
Yeah, they gave us 50 stickers, and I told them I'd give them a shout out. Oh, and we paid. We still paid for them. We're not big enough yet to get them for free, but I told them I'd give them a shout out for making these, and they're very high quality. I got one on the back of my phone. I know my dad did the same thing. I know we were trying to find out, and they are safe to put on cars. So put them anywhere. Put them on water bottles. Share it. Post. Just let people know that we exist, and you love showing us and hyping us up.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thank you all for tuning in.